Hello, my name is Christopher and I'm a simulation consultant at PLM Group. And today I want to talk to you about how to use SOLIDWORKS Simulation to navigate to a better design. And I want to start off by talking a little bit about what our customers are telling us today on how they work. And most of them agree on that innovation is key to success, and innovation is what sets you apart from your competition. But they also tell us that there is simply no time in a project to implement these ideas. And should they implement it, they simply don't have the knowledge or the tools to understand the risk of these innovations. Furthermore, if we look at how the time is spent on a project, and these are all customer numbers, they tell us that 90% of the time is spent on adaptations and modifications of customer needs. 8% is spent on continuous improvements on current designs, and only 2% is spent on innovation. Now, most of our customers want to spend more time on innovation, as I told you before, and according to their numbers, they want to look something like this instead. They want to spend less time, about 80% on adaptations and modifications, 12% on continuous improvement, and 8% on innovation instead. But how do they move from 2% innovation to 8% innovation? Well, that's what I'm about to show you right now. So I want you to imagine your GPS unit or your smartphone that you use in your day-to-day life. And imagine that you want to go from point A to point B. Now, using your GPS unit, this will be a very simple task. You simply enter the coordinates and the GPS will take you there. You will not make any wrong turns, you will not take any detours, you don't have to double back, and you will get to your destination in time. Now imagine if I took this technology away from you and I gave you a fold-up paper map and a compass instead. Now, for most of you, I imagine that the trip would take a lot longer. You might have to double back, you will make a few wrong turns, you will not get there in time, but also you will feel very uncomfortable during the trip. Now, this very simple principle can actually be applied to the design process in your day-to-day work life. So imagine that you want to go from design point A to design point B instead. And the GPS unit in this case is the simulation software. Now, using the simulation software, getting from point A to point B, creating a new project or modifying a current design will be a very simple task. If you make any mistakes along the way, the impact will be very small. Now, imagine if you don't have the simulation software and have to use the paper map instead. Now, the trip to the new design will be much harder than with the simulation software. You might have to double back a few times, you might have to resend prototypes, you might have to redo work from the beginning, and you will have a long testing period of your prototypes. To illustrate just how this works, I want to show you a very simple example of this wheel rim design. Now, this is a wheel rim for a race car, so we want to make it as light and as strong as possible. And instead of creating a prototype and sending the prototype to the lab for a long testing period, we can simply make the test in SOLIDWORKS. And what I've done here is that I've set up a very simple example where I've applied a load to this wheel rim. And if we take a quick look at the results here, we can see the stresses on this design. We can animate just to see how the structure responds. And we can look at the factor of safety of this design. Now, the minimum requirements in this case was a factor of safety of 1.5. And in this case, the minimum factor of safety is 2.6. So we actually have a lot of material that we can probably remove, making this design lighter. So within just a few minutes, we've created a test, and we know that this design is strong enough. And what this means is that we get the design right the first time. And basically what we do is that we take the physical test on the prototype, creating it virtually inside the computer. And what this means is that we create a parallel process. Now, if we look at the serial process that most of our customers use today, is that they start off with the concept phase, and once they get the concept ready, they go to the development phase, where they create the design in SOLIDWORKS. And after that, they create the prototype, sending it for a test period, and at the same time they create documentation for the product. And when this is done, if nothing goes wrong, they can send the product to production and release it to the market. What we want to emphasize here is that if you use a parallel process instead, you save a lot of time and a lot of money. And what I mean by a parallel process is that after the concept phase, you have a testing period parallel to the development phase. And this is what I just showed you. Inside of SolidWorks, you can create the testing environment and saving the testing period of the physical prototype. And you can instead release your product to the market a lot faster. So as a final step, I want to show you how to simply make a product more lightweight. And we have something called the optimization module in SolidWorks Simulation. And what it does is that it iterates the design, changing what measurements you specify. And as you can see in the picture, the measurements are changing. And what it does is that it gives you the optimal design, and you can then proceed with this design, knowing that it's strong enough and it's as lightweight as possible. So what we do by doing this is that we can optimize our design, but we also heavily reduce the number of prototypes because the optimization would take a long time to do manually. And I want to show you this as a final step. Looking back at the GPS and map analogy, what most people do without the simulation software is that they always take the safest route using the paper map. They take very few chances in their designs just to make it safe. But what they don't realize is that somewhere out there is a better design waiting for them. And along the way, there are a number of stops that you can take, making the product lighter, more comfortable, more sustainable, or whatnot. So what we've done in this case is to make the product more lightweight and hence more economic and better in the end. Not forgetting that we made it safe in the first step. The company who makes these wheel rims are called Forgeline, and the numbers that they got from using this product is that they reduced the prototype testing by 40%, the redesign time was reduced by 25%, and they even increased their market share by 40% because of they have now lighter wheel rims than their competition. So there are a lot of advantages to using these methods. Thanks for listening. That was all I wanted to tell you today. And if you need any more information, please visit our website.